Yeah, yeah, yeah. This is a civil disruption discussion, sparking change for our world. We walk through fire with our words, committing our souls, sharing goals our people have longed for. Who would have believed it? That's why we broadcast this. We want you to witness it.
Good evening, everybody. Let's try this again. Welcome to Civil Disruption. My name is D. Moss, and I'm on my co-host, and she is...
Tracy Whitfield. How are you today, Daryl?
Man, I woke up breathing and blessed, and I cannot complain. It's a
That's
wonderful day to be
awesome.
alive and share great information.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we're back with Civil Disruption. We have a fantastic guest on Civil Disruption. And for those who may be new to Civil Disruption, just give you a brief overview. We just call it what it is. We name it explicitly. We defend it economically. How is it going to benefit our people? We justify it morally. We connect it to democracy, peace, and dignity. It is a non-violent page where we come together and we just name it plainly. It is what it is. And so we use our collective power to bring us all together and talk about the issues that folks don't normally want to talk about. So, Daryl, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, we call it like we see it. Some topics are controversial. Okay, just about all of them are controversial. This one is less controversial, depending on who you are and who you're supporting in an upcoming election. But it's great information because most folks don't know the topic we're talking about. Most people are completely unfamiliar with it. It's one of those things that we hear about, but no one really takes the time to break it down. So tonight we're going to break it down for you. Civil disruption. If everyone else won't touch it, I'll get the call from Councilor Whitfield, and we are on and talking about it. Civil disruption.
Yeah. Oh, Daryl, I just gotta talk about the hair because it was beautiful curls. Went outside, black girl magic happened. The curls went away and the puff came, but it is what it is. I'm still happy to be here today with you. We can wear our hair all types of ways. People will see me different. Are you always gonna be bald?
Well, I've been wearing my hair bald since my sophomore year in college.
Okay.
It was a Jerry curl accident way back then. And we never looked back. But I like it, so it is what it is. Hot days, it messes me up. My beard, man problems. Sorry.
Well, let's get the show on the road so these people can understand what we are talking about today. Not these people, but our people can understand what we're talking about today. We have a special guest on with us today. Her name is Tara Jacobs. She is the District 8 Governor's Council member. So we are in District 8 in the city of Springfield. And I know a lot of people don't know what governor's councilors may do. And so that's why we are here today, to make sure that we get that information directly from Tara, who actually sits on the governor's council now, and she is up for re-election, and I support her 100%. She's from North Adams, a Democrat elected in November 2022, and she's been the governor's council since then. She was on the North Adams School Committee and the Library Board of Trustee and the chairs of North Adams Democratic City Committee, served 6 years of Berkshire County Commission on the status of women. I mean, she's just been doing a lot, okay? Got her BS from Tufts and her MBA from NYU. So she is definitely educated enough to be in the position, and we are glad that she is here with us today. Tara, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here, and I love civil disruption. Is the way you describe it. It basically is my why for why I wanted to be on council to begin with. It's just, there's synchronicity there. I love it.
All right. So do you want to add anything to what I said about you? Like, are you a mom? Like any of those niceties?
Yeah, I am a mom. I'm about to be an empty nester mom for the first time, literally. before this election is even over, we're packing up and driving our daughter to New York City and doing move-in day, and then probably crying our way home. And then I'm sure we'll enjoy some benefits of empty nesting, but I think we're already starting to get kind of modeling around here, getting a little misty. So yeah, I'm the mother to one.
Okay.
Now grown adult 18-year-old going off to northeastern New York City.
Okay.
Northeastern just opened a new campus in Manhattan. They took over Marymount Manhattan, and it's now Northeastern. So my kid's going off to be a theater kid, and mom's going to have to just deal.
Good deal. Well, congratulations to you and your husband and your daughter.
Thank you.
Yeah, empty nester syndrome only lasts for about 6 months.
I hope you're right. I hope you're right. I know my husband's hit even harder by it. So
yeah.
I hope it's not longer than 6 months.
Daddy's girl, huh?
Full E. Yes, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah. And the only other person, so I have 1 kid and 5 pets.
Okay.
And, I got 2 dogs, a cat, and 2 bunny rabbits.
Wow.
And I would have more, but I was told that's it. That's all I can have.
Okay.
I would have goats. I would love an alpaca. Like, I would just keep going.
All right. Well, maybe when your daughter leaves, you got to fill that void.
Room.
Yeah.
No, that room is going to be ready for, the launchling to come back home whenever, but only on breaks. Got to actually do the college. Go do college. Yeah.
She'll do great. She'll do great. All right. So we're going to jump right in, Daryl. I wanted to pass it over to you. I know sometimes I take over. So I just wanted to
say. You don't take over. You say what has to be said sometimes, and it's cool. I am not James Brown. This is not a man's world. So
cool. All right. Well,
you want to roll? You want me to roll?
Go ahead, roll with it.
All right. So one of the offices that most people are like, I know I worked for the city for about 12 years and had no idea what the governor's council was. Mm-hmm. I do know that, when it comes down to, correct me if I'm wrong, paroles and pardon, I just thought about that type of stuff. And there's so much more. So I did my homework, and I see it's one of the state's oldest constitutional bodies. It was overlooked by myself and a whole lot of other people who thought they were politically astute, but we weren't. I never realized that it had significant influence over the mass justice system and the exercise of executive power. I know there are 8 elected counselors,
right,
and each represent a district. So I am not the expert, so I'm going to say, Tara, that's why we're here.
Yeah.
So take over, tell us what the governor's council is.
I say it all the time. This is the most important elected office in Massachusetts that almost no one's ever heard of, and that's genuinely true. So, and it's a constitutional office that did start over 400 years ago in the colonial era, and then was embedded into our Constitution at the founding of our state. And the role is an extra layer of checks and balances on our executive branch, on the governor. And it's fairly unique to Massachusetts. New Hampshire also has a governor's council, but they operate a little bit differently. So we really are kind of the only one that is like ours is in the country. And our roles are defined by the Constitution. They are to be an advice and consent body on matters that the governor brings to us. And so the governor will nominate people to be judges for every court in the state, from district courts up into Supreme Judicial Court. Every judge comes through governor's council, and sometimes comes multiple times if a district court judge wants to be a superior court judge or up the line. Anytime a judge wants to change courts, it's also with advice and consent of the council. In addition, every clerk magistrate in the state comes through council for our advice and consent. Members of the parole board. So we have no impact on parole decisions, that the parole board handles that work, but we do have, we are the confirming body for those members to be put into a 5-year term serving on the parole board. And then the parole board serves 2 functions. They are the parole board, the Massachusetts Parole Board, but they are also the advisory board of pardons. And so if the governor wants to grant clemency, gubernatorial clemency in the form of a pardon or a commutation, that is also with advice and consent of the governor's council. There's actually a number of other things, but those are the big things that if someone has heard of council, that's probably the reason. Although also, like, every notary public is approved by the governor's council, and there's thousands of those across the state, so they often have a little bit of a clue that we exist. But but yeah, there's 8 of us. Each district represents the same number of people. Each of us represent, or our districts are made up of Senate districts, so we each have 5 Senate districts within our district.
Wow.
So we each represent 850,000 people. But as you can imagine, as you get farther from Boston, the land footprint geographically of our districts gets bigger and bigger and bigger until you get to District 8, where I have I literally have the largest district outside of statewide seats in our elected body. So my district is larger than congressional districts, or so
Yeah.
I represent 102 cities and towns, including Springfield. The border is a little jagged, but I go from in the north Ashburnham, which is North Quabbin, part of Central Mass, down to Warren in the south. And I represent almost entirely all the 4 counties of the 413. There's a couple of towns that District 7 actually has, like Ware, and a couple of others that when the Senate districts got redistricted, it jiggered around a little bit. But pretty much I represent all of the 413 and a little bit of Central Mass.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's a lot.
So, I have a couple quick questions I want to ask you, Tara. The first one is, can you explain the difference between a pardon and a what is it?
Commutation.
Commutation, yes. Commutation.
Yeah, I spend a lot of time out in community talking about clemency because it's one of the things about this role that drew me originally and is why it's so meaningful and rewarding to me. So a pardon literally strikes the offense from the record. If someone does a Corey check or a criminal background check, a pardoned offense is no longer there. And in an interview, like if somebody had a prior conviction that was pardoned, then in a job interview, if asked if you've ever been convicted of a crime, you can honestly answer no, because it literally has been erased like it didn't happen. Having said that, the courts can see it in their records, but it's not publicly accessible. And literally with the granting of a pardon, it has been wiped away. A commutation commutes a sentence, which means steps it down. And that is open to what the governor asks of council, and council can actually provide advice and consent that changes it too, if we wish to. So for instance, usually when we're talking about commutation, we're talking about people who are serving life sentences for first-degree murder. In order to be parole eligible, they need a commutation to a lesser charge with a lesser sentence that would allow for release. And again, it can be immediate release, like commutation granted, you walk out of prison, or commutation granted, now the parole board will decide whether or not to grant you parole. Like it all is dependent on the conditions set. But a commutation takes a sentence and steps it down, and any sentence could be commuted. Those are just the ones that generally we're talking about. I just did recently a forum in Springfield a couple of months ago that was about commutation, because there are people living in the number I heard, I have no statistics to verify that this is correct, but what I'd heard was that 400 people in Springfield are living under lifetime parole. So literally supervised until they die, kind of a thing. And those being on parole means that there's conditions placed on you, including like who you fraternize with. You can get violated if you go against the conditions set, and violation can often also mean reincarcerated or put on a GPS monitor or a number of other things. And the reason it was brought to my attention and important is that there are some people living in Springfield who, and I just say Springfield because that's where this conversation happened, but because I'm sure there's people across Western Mass and the state for whom this is also relevant, but this happened to be a very Springfield focused conversation and community effort. But there's people in Springfield living on lifetime parole who are trying to affect positive change in their community, who want to work with, you know, at-risk youth, who want to work with gang-involved communities to help people get on the path to transformation like they personally had in prison, and they want to prevent, you know, the younger generation from following in their footsteps, and they want to do that kind of good work in community, but that they put themselves at risk of violating their parole conditions by fraternizing with people who might have a record. And so there's a barrier to doing the kind of good work in community that we very much want them to be doing. You know, that's a huge benefit. And so we had a forum to talk about commutation and the application process, the decision-making process. There's a number of steps before it ever gets to Governor's Council. And the thing with Governor's Council is we literally are just a receiving body. If the governor doesn't ask us to consider something, we don't create our own work. We don't introduce things for ourselves to vote on. We vote in response to what the governor has asked of us to grant advice and consent. So, you know, I do what I can to inform, because that honestly, so few people ask for a pardon in the state. When I first started doing Pathway to Pardon events out in community, and you can go on my website, and there's links to the YouTube of the Pathway to Pardons event that I held originally. I've been doing others since then, but that one was recorded, and so you can watch it. And that was a really good one, because I had two really good panels discussing it in depth and very specifically in ways you will never see anyone talk about pardons ever. But I initially started doing these Pathway to Pardon forums because at the time, the parole board was only receiving about 30 pardon requests annually, and fewer than that for commutations. So like double digits, low double digit number of applications. And in our state, hundreds of thousands of people actually could benefit from a pardon or a commutation. So that number was staggering to me. And so partially this was to educate people in the process, encourage people who have barriers in their life because they have an offense on their record, who maybe literally can't like coach their kids' soccer team because they can't pass the Corey check, or there's a barrier to employment, or there's a barrier to renting an apartment or getting a Pell Grant to go further their education. You know, there's so many barriers when you have a record that a pardon or a commutation could help pave the way to a more thriving, successful life. And so I started doing work in community really to try to raise those numbers, so that more people could have a shot at it. Ultimately, it still rests with the governor to wish to bring to council a pardon or a commutation.
Okay, so what I wanted to ask is, because this is what, a 4-year term?
2-year term. I'm in my second 2-year term.
Your second 2-year term. And so, Tara, I'm gonna just be honest and blunt, because that's what we do on Civil Disruption, right? I don't remember seeing you much in general. I seen you, I think, last time you ran, but I think these conversations need to continue even after election, and even like just creating awareness on who is being nominated, who's being voted on. You don't have to say your opinion or anything like that, but we never know what judges are coming up to be voted on. We usually get the information once they're voted on in the media. But how are you going to continue to engage in the community after you win the election?
So I hope to have your help actually in building awareness for the work I'm doing. I have a Facebook page. It has several hundred followers. I represent 850,000 people. So obviously that has lots of rooms to grow. I have an Instagram account that has, I don't know how many followers, but I'm more than the Facebook, I think, but I don't know how many, but nowhere close to 850,000. I guarantee you nowhere. And so I do what I can to be as transparent as I can. I'm out in community literally almost every day. That doesn't mean I'm in Springfield every day, but I'm in Springfield a lot. But I have, like I said, 102 cities and towns. And so I am somewhere every day doing my work. And I post about it but you're clearly not seeing it. So helping me extend so that people see it. And I do press releases, and I invite the press, who hardly ever come, by the way, to cover the things I'm doing. They didn't come and cover the Pathway to Pardons event I did, although that was very well attended. Like 100+ people came to it. That's 100 people out of 850,000. So, I have a lot of people, and so it's a constant effort to extend awareness around what I'm doing. But some of the things that I do on my social media, if you follow, is when we're in the State House, when Governor's Council convenes to hold a hearing or an assembly, I am not a great photographer, and so I apologize for the pictures. They're not fantastic, but they are. I take a picture of the nominee and I post like, hey, this is our first hearing of the morning. This is a nominee to probate and family court. Their name is, we will vote on this next month, or next week, next whatever the date is. And so I try to keep an active, and that honestly I was the first governor's counselor to ever even do that. Like, so I now have been joined by 3 new members of Governor's Council in the last year the last term that also do that. So there's more of us doing that now to raise awareness around Governor's Council. But in addition to that, I am terrible about remembering to take pictures. So I take pictures at about 10% of the things that I do. But when I remember to take a selfie or a picture with a group, I'll put that up. Governor's Council, we don't have staff. So it's just me out there running around my district, putting miles on the car, and I do the best I can to try to share what I'm doing. I will also say there's some things I don't share on purpose. Like I meet with a lot of groups of victims and survivors, and I feel like it's not appropriate to exploit them in any way, but also to share their privacy. A lot, domestic violence survivors, sexual assault survivors, people in high conflict divorces, people who are struggling with evictions and foreclosures. There's a lot that I do in community that if you're not part of the group that I am meeting with, you wouldn't know. And I don't talk about the fact that I have met with them because I keep it kind of private. Same thing with prisons. When I go visit prisons and jails, I'm not even allowed to take my cell phone in with me.
Yeah, that's understandable.
Sometimes I'll remember to take a picture outside before I leave, but I forget to do that half the time too. So I could do better. I could do better in generating awareness out there. But I literally am out in community literally every day, either doing the work of the Commonwealth when I have the way it works with judges, clerk magistrates, and other things that we hold hearings on. If the nominee resides in the district of a specific governor's counselor, that governor's counselor chairs their hearing and kind of marshals through the logistics of their nomination process, their confirmation process. So I will schedule their hearing at governor's council. I will schedule their vote in concert with the governor, who actually sets our agenda for assemblies. But also I do local hearings. So I've done a number of local district confirmation hearings in Springfield at the law school, primarily for Hampden County residents who've been nominated to the bench. And then for Franklin County, I've done them in Greenfield. For Hampshire County, I've done them in Northampton. And I just had a Berkshire judge confirmed, who I held her district confirmation hearing in Pittsfield. But I try to hold the hearing in the community where either that they're primarily their career has been or where their community is, because I want to hear from their colleagues, their lawyers who have opposed them, lawyers who have worked with them, judges who have seen them. But I also really want to hear from, if they coach soccer with people and they've known each other for 20 years as neighbors, I want to hear from people who don't necessarily know them as a lawyer, but know them as a human.
Yeah.
And so I have my local hearings in the place that's most convenient to their community. And,
okay, understood. Yeah, we gotta keep our comments a little bit briefer, Tara, because we got many questions we want to ask you, and plus we also want to get to some of the comments. Now I have one. I guess I am live, Daryl, on my page.
Yep, you're live.
So I have one that I'm not going to make this about me, but it said, why should we vote for you over our local person? And I'm not going to say the person's name because I don't want to say names of people I don't support. And isn't he a fellow city council member? And yes, indeed. And it's not about me. So I'm going to leave my opinions right on out of it right now. just because it's a person that's on the city council with me doesn't mean I agree with them or I would ever vote for them. So I'll leave that right there. But Daryl, I see that you was gonna say something before Tara.
Yeah, I'm going to say the bottom line is there's a difference between wanting to be in charge and someone who's involved in a leadership capacity. People who are in charge want to, make sure that they're only pushing their friends or their colleagues or a small segment of the population, and they only disseminate certain types of information that may or may not be beneficial to the public. Someone in a leadership capacity is always going to make sure that the information that the public needs to make educated decisions, they're going to do that. And sometimes it's a hard decision to step out and say, here's the information. It doesn't matter who the candidate is at this point. The bottom line is people need to make an educated decision. Just because someone lives around the corner from you, just because they work for your city government, doesn't mean that they work in your favor. There are people who will always work against the greater good of some communities. And then there are people who bypass all the different types of demographics and they work for the community at large. Now, my understanding for everyone that I talk to, that is what Tara does. Now, I am not a politician. I don't sit on city council. So I could put it like this. If there's someone on the council, if there's someone in room 214 at City Hall, if there's a state rep or a state senator, I think we've kind of hit quite a few people who sit in political roles, regardless of what seat Tracy sits in. The purpose of the show is to get information out there. So I'm saying this to the person who made the comment. Let's make it really clear, because I'm the guy. I don't mind. I'll take on any battle publicly. I enjoy that because information is information. And it's really critical that we ensure that any narrative that goes out there is fair and equitable for everyone. So we brought Tara on so Tara can tell people who she is, because she doesn't live around the corner, but she is in our neighborhood because she represents our district. I hope people understand that. I hope they take that and they spread it up to the mountains. I don't care. So I'm sorry, Tara, that you have to hear this, but I think let's just make it completely clear. It doesn't matter who we bring on the show. Anyone can come on the show. Now, the other person who's running, I said, I'll extend an invitation. I would love to see if he would accept that invitation. We asked Tara to come on, and Tara said, yes, I'd be more than happy to come on. With that being stated, for the person who made that information, who put that comment out there, I'm just saying it is what it is. With that being said, Tara.
let me repeat the question. Yeah, thank you, Daryl. You said everything I felt on the inside, right? Because you don't love all your neighbors, right? I mean, you try to get along with them. You try to work with them. You try to work around your neighborhood because they live there, but you don't necessarily got to love them or even like them. And you said it perfectly, so I won't even stay there. Why should we vote for you? Period. I'm not even going to say over the local person because you're just a better candidate, but why should we vote for you?
Thank you for that. I forgot I was wearing this until I went like this and I saw it, but I'm not great at getting friends. See that ring?
Mm-hmm.
I wear it. I used to only wear it when I was sitting down with judicial nominees to remind myself, but I've been wearing it during the campaign because I think it's worth talking about why I wear this ring. I bought this ring for myself as a little celebration when I won governor's council the first time. And it has meaning because when I was running the first time, and for months and months after I took office, people in Western Mass who do know what governor's council is, lawyers who have involved or engaged with the judicial nominating process in some capacity, applied themselves, or knew people who had, told me that to become a judge in Western Massachusetts, you had to kiss the governor's council ring. Governor's council considered themselves kingmakers, and you had to kiss their ring if you wanted to be a judge in Western Mass. And so this ring, I wear it, and this was before No Kings movement came, but it's a No Kings sentiment that reminds me why I'm doing this work, why I want to continue doing this work, what my goals are, and they're about public service. They're not about power and politics and using them for my own ends or a political establishment When I talk about governor's council, I talk about the work and about justice and shifting systemic injustices in our state. And that's why I want to be here and doing this for the benefit of people who don't have power and privilege, who are the justice involved court users. But historically and forever, governor's council is an incredibly powerful position politically. You work, the lieutenant governor chairs our assemblies. You work next door to the ceremonial office of the governor. I see her every week. I see the LG every week. I am busy in their ear pushing for justice for Western Mass and the state, but I could be in there pushing for greedy political patronage, trading favors. It's not unheard of for votes to get traded. I'll vote for your thing and get this thing. I don't operate that way. I stand in integrity, and I'm here for reasons that matter a lot to me, that I'm very passionate about, so I can't shut my mouth and not talk for 10 minutes, and I apologize for that.
That's
I'll try to
okay.
be more brief, but this ring is a symbol of who I am and what you're voting for when you vote for me. I'm an independent voice, and I'm a voice for the people who don't have power and who are showing up in district court on up, represented or not, to make sure that we have better and better and better access to justice, that our outcomes are less and less and less racially disparate, that marginalized communities are served in a way that is fair in all the ways. And that's my mission. That's my drive. That's what I care about. And as much as there's no doubt this is a political office, I have to run for it every 2 years. There's politics at play at the State House, and I navigate them while staying true to myself and my core mission. And that makes me a unique governor's counselor. I will say again, I have other members of governor's council who I would hold up as equally there for those reasons. But historically, that's not been the case. Historically, I'm a nerd. I Googled governor's council when I was running for it the first time. I read news articles from the 1700s, the 1800s, the 1900s, and the same words are used as today: cronyism, greed, corruption, bribery taking, political appointments, patronage. The words go on and on. But that's not me. That's not who I am. That's not how I operate.
That's awesome. So I'm glad that you said something about power, because Karen King said public service over power. That's what she sees in you. She said that you have good character. Also, Mary Sullivan said, Mike Fenton, this is Mary Sullivan's words, not Tracy's. Mike Fenton is a political hack, and Tara Jacobs is a decent person who's not a politician or part of the political machine. And then Erica Swallow said to Daryl, well said, there's a difference in wanting to be in charge and wanting to be a leader. I mean, you hit that nail on the head with that one. And then Marlene said exactly what we need: integrity. And so people are joining, they're listening to you, they're liking what you have to say. Justin Hurst said vote Tara Jacobs. I say the same thing, vote Tara Jacobs community. But I'm just like really glad that you were able to come today and tell us about the job, because I didn't know about the notary. I didn't know about the pardons. I knew about the judge appointments. And there was some judge appointments that you voted against singularly by yourself because of the integrity that you have. And I don't know, does that hurt you in any way when you go against the establishment? And then I have another question that I want to ask you after that, because I did see some of the smear campaigns on the news. I don't pay attention to those things, and I hope other people have good enough sense not to either. If they got to go low, we go high. But if they got to go low, you know exactly why. You see how that rhymed? Did you like that, Daryl?
I like that. I wish I did that down. You're gonna have to text that to me later. I'll make some art out of that. Yeah. So let me start with the first part of your question. So, does it hurt me when I vote no? I know there have been a couple of big no votes that I've had that have disappointed the governor. What I like to say is she's a grown-up. She's a politician. She understands the work. She got over it. We have a fine professional working relationship, and I will say as much as every member of Governor's Council represents the same number of people, we have far fewer courts here than in the very clustered Boston area and other high population parts of the state. And even still, if you go by that 12%, 12.5% of the people, I've gotten overrepresented number of nominees out of the Healy administration. I have filled every vacancy at our Superior Court. For the first time ever in Western Mass history, there are no vacancies at the Superior Court circuit, and that is a milestone, historic. I'm very proud of myself. And having worked collaboratively with the Western Mass legislators who stood up and supported me in making our voices heard to the governor. Since you have not, I haven't come on your radar, you probably missed this, but about a year ago, we had 4 vacancies in the Superior Court in Western Mass, 4 out of 11. It was really creating a backlog at the courts. Justice delayed is justice denied kind of a situation. So normally, I mentioned the LG is our ex officio chair at assemblies. Assemblies is where we vote, and it's also available on live stream. Well, every once in a rare blue moon, instead of the lieutenant governor, the governor will chair. And I was planning to make a little speech, not knowing the governor was going to chair that day. And I went ahead and made the little speech to her anyway. And I stood up and I made a speech to the governor. I actually ripped a speech from a prior governor's counselor who made the same exact words, actually. I read his speech. He had made this speech 50 years prior in the governor's council chamber. And the speech, basically, paraphrasing the whole thing, but boiled down to, you are being derelict in your duty by not filling my vacancies. So the same exact thing. It was almost the same exact numbers. It was really a weird speech that it lined up so perfectly. But I read her this speech from 1970, whatever. And I was like, and I am calling on you to urgently fill the needs that we have in Superior Court. This is serious, and it needs your immediate attention. On my drive home from Boston that day, my phone rang from the governor's chief legal officer telling me that they had scheduled interviews for a number of applicants, judicial applicants, to meet with the governor and see if she wanted to nominate any of them. And within 3.5 months after I made that speech, and by the way, and on the drive home, I also heard from senators in my district, how can we help you? And they wrote a letter, all the senators, all of our Western Mass reps, a bunch of reps and senators outside of our district even joined in to help boost it. And they sent a letter to support it. So I don't take full credit for this. I also had a lot of help helping make this happen. But within months, 0 vacancies. And until we get a retirement, 0 vacancies. So it historically has never happened before. Western Mass has always had a shortage in our attempts to fill our seats for reasons that are systemic and logistical. But the Healy administration has rained down nominees to me for our courts and for our clerk magistrates. So I've been chairing hearings like crazy, to the point that some of my Boston colleagues are giving me crap about it. Like, oh, you're chairing again? How come you get to chair all the hearings? So all that to say, while she may not love every vote I make, I do it from a place of integrity and discernment and deliberation. And I take it very seriously, and I come to my decision, and I don't do it for political reasons. And so I think there's a level of respect for how I do it, as much as it may be disappointing sometimes when I do it. And by the way, I voted over 300 times and have said no maybe half a dozen. So it's not like I'm no all the time, but I always have a reason if I do.
Hey, you got to stand on integrity, and that's it. Discernment, just like you said, no other explanation needed. When it's no, it's no, and that's the same way for me.
So lifetime appointments that impact our communities, they're incredibly important decisions, and they deserve
and they're definitely gonna impact our community overwhelmingly, because we're over policed, we're over arrested,
overcharged, over sentenced.
I can't get those words out before you. All those all the things. So we definitely need people acting in our favor, and I just don't believe the candidate will do that. I think that's all political, just like the smear campaigns that Mary Hurley is doing right now, all political, because they want their same people in the same positions, targeting us, targeting Black and brown people, not giving them fair chances or sentences, not wanting to put those judges in place. But I do want to thank you, because I called you one morning, early in the morning, probably like 7:30, 8 o'clock, because I got a text that early about someone wanting to know the process of how to nominate a judge that they know to become a judge. And I asked, could I share your information? I think I texted you and I called, but right away you said absolutely. I share hers with you. I hope you all connected. But that's the type of leadership we need. People that we can connect with, connect people to, because a lot of times people come to me for things I just do not know. And I'm glad to have someone in your position that I can reach out to in these circumstances. Now, I want to ask this one question because it relates to that. If someone is having a hard time sealing their case, can they reach out to you for assistance? Would you be the right avenue to go to? Because what this individual said is they went to former Mayor Hurley's assistance for years and years when she was on the governor's council, and nothing ever happened. And so even if you're not the person, is that something you would be willing to do for someone? At least talk to them?
I am very responsive, and every once in a while things do fall through the cracks because my inbox is crazy, but I try not to let anyone fall through the cracks, especially when they're seeking help. And I reach out all the time and respond to people. I'll say 3 things. Sealing is actually the easiest way. It's the smoothest way. Mm-hmm. And I'm a sponsor of the Clean Slate Initiative as well.
So am I.
Yeah. All right. And I've gone to advocacy day on it and everything. But expungement through the courts is also an avenue. And expungement is very similar to pardon in terms of it is not viewable by anyone who does a check. So expungement is a way. It's hard. They're very specific criteria, though. And so the courts, you need to meet the criteria of the courts. And then the last way is a pardon or a commutation. And so, or pardon generally in a situation like that. The odds of getting a pardon are so tiny. I never want to inflame somebody's sense of expectation or hope around that. The governor may bring it to us. But I do help people in terms of what's the process. So I'll like point them to the application. Where do you send it? What should you make sure you have in there? I will say this, the Parole Board, Advisory Board of Pardons is very good about following up with people if they leave stuff out they want.
Okay.
So if you don't send a full packet, don't get bogged down in trying to get every bit of paper that demonstrates what you've been doing with your life. They'll come and find what they specifically are interested in seeing if you don't submit it. But it is a good idea to submit a full packet. And then I do what I can to advocate on people's behalf. But the Parole Board is the Advisory Board of Pardons, the Parole Board as them. They're going to do what they're going to do, and they will make a recommendation, positive or negative, after reviewing an application for pardon.
Okay. And
then they send it to the governor's legal office, who prioritizes many things and not necessarily clemency first. And so, if they bring it to the governor and the governor wants to be granting a pardon in a moment, it totally rests with the governor and the governor's legal office until it comes to council. So almost every time I'm in the State House, I am advocating for when are we going to see more pardons, or when are we going to see a commutation? We haven't seen one of those yet. I want to see more clemency come through. But I don't have control over that until the governor asks for our advice and consent. That's when my role kicks in. So I do what I can to advocate and support people who in the applicant who benefit, but my powers are really only at the point that it is brought to council for our consideration. So I try not to overstate or set expectations with people that aren't realistic.
Perfect. Gerald, do you have?
I do.
Okay.
Looking through, I kind of did a little bit of research on you, and in the past you've talked extensively about diversity and representation on the bench. What difference does having judges from different racial, cultural, and geographic and socioeconomic backgrounds actually make in the courtroom?
So for instance, my very first nominee ever is a Springfield lifelong resident, Tracy Duncan, to the Superior Court. And like I said, I do these local district level confirmation hearings. She was my first local hearing. We held it at Springfield's law school, the moot court room they've got there. It looks just like a courtroom. And it was standing room only. People were literally spilling out of the room into the hall. A bunch came to speak on her behalf and give testimony about who she is and why she'll make a fantastic judge and what they know of her. But the rest were there to celebrate an amazing moment of representation, an amazing moment of seeing somebody on the bench who looks like them, for maybe the first time ever in their life. And that matters. I've had hearing after hearing after hearing for Western Mass nominees who were the first of their race, of their nationality, of their sexual orientation. And it matters. I've seen how much it matters to people. And then my hope is from the bench that the experience of justice will feel, I see somebody who represents me, who understands the struggles. And that's a big part, because you can be representational and not actually understand the struggles of the community, not actually be compassionate.
Mm-hmm.
They aren't a one-to-one. It very much matters. Who are these people? What are their values and beliefs? How do I do everything I can to really dig in and understand what they're going to be like from the bench. I've been validated in being pretty good. I'm a pretty good judge of character. And so far I haven't been disappointed yet. I fully allow there might be a mistake one day that I think someone's going to be great and they're not, and vice versa. But so far it's played out to really reinforce that what I've discerned about people is played out to be true. But, you know, trust and faith in our courts is enhanced when we feel that we are seen and heard, and the person understands our struggles and is, even if giving a sentence, even if the outcome is not what I want, if I feel like it's been fair and I feel seen as a person, and I am being given from the bench a sense that I'm a worthwhile human being who did a bad thing or is in a bad moment, but I can do better, that lands with people and it really matters.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And I know we have another question from the comment section, but I got to ask this first. You've emphasized issues like trauma, substance abuse, mental health, cognitive development when evaluating the people who may become judges. How should those issues influence the way Massachusetts approaches the way they approach justice?
So, for instance, cognitive development, we can take that one first, but all of them are important and all of them matter. And for some of our courts, it matters more than others, but it really does matter across the board. But cognitive development, so the brain science suggests that our cognitive development continues until at least age 25. And while we're in that emerging adult 18 to 25 zone, we have impulse control issues, as is human species. Individuals play it out and we have story after story, but all of us are impacted by, we have impulse control issues. We don't necessarily see the consequence of our actions. We have a tendency to want to belong and fit in. And if we fall in with a crowd that we want to belong and fit in with, we're going to make terrible choices. And so the SJC, the Supreme Judicial Court of Massachusetts, actually, it was called the Mattis case because the defendant was Mattis. They actually ruled that it is unconstitutional to have a sentence of lifetime without the possibility of parole if you committed the offense under the age of 21. I want to say 21. It may be 20. I'm not sure. But I think if you're up to age 21, so 20 and 300 and whatever days, you qualify. And they did that because the science demonstrates that you're still a developing human. And the reality is, I hope there'll be another case that pushes it even farther. And the reality is that 25 is flexible and an average, because if you have childhood trauma, your brain development actually takes even longer than that. And so understanding trauma, understanding brain science, understanding the realities of addiction, things like, recovering from addiction has baked into it relapse. So, judges give conditions on things and set probation standards that might, we're going to drug test every 3 days or 3 times a week or every day or whatever their conditions are. But what happens if you fail that drug test? Are we going to throw you back, incarcerate you again? Or are we going to recognize this is part of if you haven't committed a crime other than using, what are we going to do with that? And the more judges sitting on the bench actually understand at a granular level the science of addiction, understand mental illness and the impact on behavior, that impacts the kind of justice we see. So it's embedded into it's embedded into my process for sure in terms of vetting people. And almost always when I voted no, it's because discussions we've had around racial bias, around mental health, about substance use, about the impacts of poverty. That's another one you didn't mention, but it's really important.
Right.
food insecurity, housing insecurity. How they talk about it, the words they use, the body language I see while they talk about it. I
Mhm.
collect red flags while talking to people, and if you get to enough red flags, I'm going to be a no.
Got you.
Yeah.
Got you. Okay. Um, from the comment section, we have from Robert Good. What measurable results can minority communities point to from your past service on the Governance Council? And what should they be able to point to after the next 2 years to show that representation, accessibility, and fairness have meaningfully improved, or fairness has meaningfully improved?
I'm actually still reading on the screen. Sorry.
Okay.
That's a great question.
It's a really great question. It's kind of a complicated question.
Yeah.
I already can point to measurable results in that we have. So rather than giving you a number, I'll paint you a picture. So at the Superior Court, when we have a new judge, after they're sworn in, they have an induction ceremony. And I went to an induction ceremony when I first got sworn in like February of 2023. And what happens at these induction ceremonies, it's a celebratory moment of seating a new judge in the court, in the Superior Court. And they do it with pomp and circumstance. And they bring in retired judges and sitting judges to be a part of sort of the ritual of this induction to court. And the first one I went to, there were a few women, but by and large, a stream of cookie cutter looking little old white men streamed into the courtroom for this induction ceremony. And the last Superior Court induction ceremony I went to was for that last seat, that last vacancy we filled in Western Mass. And that induction ceremony was held in Northampton. And the judges come filing in. And this time it was every age range, every color. There were different gender identities, lots of women, it was about half women, and just a vibrant, this is what judges look like now. Literally a sea change of what judges look like now in Western Massachusetts. I wish I had those two pictures to hold up side by side right now. I have them in my
I'll find them
in post.
So now it's more reflective of the community that they serve.
It's reflective of the community that they serve, but still diversity, and also diversity of career experience too, by the way. So we've had, we have more CPCS and community legal aid experience, Innocence Project, former lawyers from the Innocence Project. Like it goes on and on, like things that we've never had. And I give all credit to the governor who nominated these people. I'm very proud of the people that have been confirmed since I've been on the Governor's Council. But it's not just about diversity for diversity's sake. And for me, that matters. Representation matters. We talked about that already. But it really is, what kind of people are these? Like, who are these people and how are they going to show up? Temperament is so important. Personality is so important. Beliefs and values is so important. And so I'm very greedy and I want all those things. I want people who are representational of the people whose community they are serving, who are from the community, who understand the community, but also people who genuinely are compassionate and who will serve from the bench with integrity and with fairness for everyone. And things like, we have someone who's neurodivergent. Maybe we need to quiet this courtroom. Maybe we should schedule it at a certain time of day when there's not a lot. Things that are just really relate to the human level, humane level, what our courts, in our best version of what our courts should be, ought to be.
So now that we understand that the Governor's Council is critically important for our community, I guess the community, on the community's part, we need to figure out how to make sure that accountability is always present, so that we have to, now that we're learning about the Governor's Council, we have to learn how to hold folks on the Governor's Council accountable. I think accountability is everything. So I think Mr. Good's question is so relevant and significant. So we go back to the community and we're having those conversations. Well, this is another entity that we really need to look at and keep under a microscope. I got another question from someone who says,
These are great questions, by the way. Keep the questions coming. I don't know how you guys are slated for this, but
we just put it out here. But I think it's important information for the community to know why they are going to vote for you.
This is fantastic. I love it. I love it. Yeah. What you got next?
This one's from a constituent. They said, I have a hard to seal case in a situation like that, can they reach out to you or someone from the Governance Council for assistance? They waited for former Mayor Hurley's assistant for years to get back to them, and it never happened while on the Governance Council. So who would they go to now to have that conversation with on the Governance Council when they're dealing with a situation like that?
For sealing, I feel like that's more community legal aid or a bar association lawyer for a day type of a question. I don't actually personally, Governor's Council doesn't handle sealing or expungements, just pardons and implementations. But even still, I field all kinds of questions that aren't technically my job, just to help point people in the right direction. So if someone's really struggling, if reaching out to community legal aid doesn't help, if reaching out to the bar of your county, I'm going to assume, actually, I'm not going to assume, it could be any of the counties watching this, right? So whatever county that you are from, the bar association usually has lawyers for the day. If you're in Springfield, I actually recommend going to the law school's library in Springfield, Western New England Law School. They have an access to justice kiosk and a librarian who will help you like fill out the forms you need, and actually literally can help you fill out the forms for sealing and offer you advice. If none of that works, Tara at tarajacobs.com and shoot me an email, and then be if it's while this crazy election is going on, be patient because my inbox is crazy and my schedule is insane. But I try, and when there's community members who need help, I prioritize that. And so I'll do everything I can to point you in the right direction. Having said that, I am not a lawyer, and I don't pretend to be on TV either. So, I know I've learned a lot and I know a lot, but I am not a lawyer.
Mhm.
So on that, being that you're not an attorney, when you
don't put the name up there, Daryl. I was gonna read that question without putting the name.
No, I did. It was coincidence that she said that because I was already putting the comment up there because I had a question. When you first, let's move back a little bit. When you first ran for this office, some people might have asked why someone without a legal background should be evaluating judicial candidates. Since becoming elected, what have you learned in your first term that validates your decision to run?
So my background, you mentioned my BS from Tufts. It was in social psych research, and my research that earned me that Bachelor of Science was all around human bias, understanding bias in a number of field studies that I did then. And my life since then has really flowed, not necessarily in a straight line, in a very crooked line all over the place, but in a way that really, why I was fascinated by social psych research to begin with led to every choice I've made after, including my prior life as an ad executive. And then when we moved to Western Mass 20 years ago, I wanted to get involved at the community level and do good things in community, make a difference. And those things, my dog really wants to come in here right now. Those things, one thing led to another until the Governor's Council. Hang on. What? So
let him in. Let him in.
Okay.
Do what you got to do.
No scratching otherwise. This is Bowie. He's my COVID puppy, and he's very, very pushy when he wants things. Anyhow, when Governor's Council became available, I saw it as an opportunity to be a part of affecting change, like being at a table where decisions are made, where powerful and highly impactful on our communities decisions were made in an interest of dismantling systemic injustice. In 2020 or 2021, research came out from the courts showing how Massachusetts was the fourth worst in the entire country for racial disparities in our incarcerated population. Black and brown people were incarcerated at crazy, crazy rates over what their proportion of the population. Yeah. All right. Well, that was a driving motive, like my why. Why did I want to do this? Right. That was my why, right? And so I thought Governor's Council was an avenue to affect change in that way. I hoped it would be. And then once I took office and started doing this work, the work itself very much gives that opportunity to be a voice at a table And even if I'm the lone dissenter, I think the Boston Globe called me the lone dissenter at one point, which I kind of loved because I grew up on the Lone Ranger, and I kind of have that image in my head of like, I'm the lone dissenter. I'm like riding off into the sunset as the lone dissenter. But even if I am the lone dissenter, I share with the nominee publicly at the assembly or privately one-on-one why I'm voting no. They know why I'm voting no. And that's important because not only do we have a power to vote and confirm or not, that's as a group, that's as a majority yes, majority no, one or two of us, the thing still happens. But me sharing, these are the red flags I saw. This is why I'm concerned about you. I want to draw your attention to it. I hope you will do, especially when we're talking about, like, I heard a lot of bias in the things that you shared. And let me point out to you exactly the ways. Every one of us is biased. We're wired. As a social psychology major, we are wired for bias. That's how we're built. But we can change. We can grow. We can be self-aware. We can self-reflect. There are implicit bias tests we can take to see what kind of biases we are most need to work on. And we can do the work. And so, being a single no for someone who does get confirmed, but sharing with them, like, these are the things that I have concerns about, and maybe draw your attention to it, do better in that area as a suggestion. Those suggestions actually come with some weight and actually do affect some change.
Okay.
Yeah, so I love that answer. And your why, and so does Robert Good Peoples out here. He is on fire right now. He is like, and he wants more transparency and accountability when it comes to appointments. He just wants clear transparency, greater attention to nominees, understanding their racial and social economic disparities, disabilities, all the things that Daryl said. And your opponent always touts that he's a lawyer and he has more experience. So we want to keep in mind that he's a real estate lawyer, probably been in courtroom 5 times, for anything criminal outside of like real estate. And I went back after I said the scandal, and looked and watched his videos and when he was city council president, and found numerous mistakes. And so a title, even city council title, no matter what your title is, doesn't mean you're always right. Doesn't mean you know everything.
Right.
Fully that, 100% fully that. And so being a lawyer doesn't automatically qualify you for this position. We have to look at character, especially in our community. And if a character is showing you that someone historically targets and attacks your community and your people, we need to take that seriously, because those are the people who will be appointing judges that will be sentencing our community. And so we need to really take a good look at and pay attention to who we are voting for, who's going to affect our community. And it's not going to be in a good light. It's going to be in a negative light. And so let's pay attention, guys. I don't care who is endorsing who. We got a comment that some members in where you live at, the Berkshires, right, is endorsing
the other candidate.
The sheriff.
Yeah, are endorsing that people. Yeah. To me, that's all part of the establishment, right?
It's politics. That's politics all day long. And I'm going to bet some back channel deals going down too. Yeah. I also saw some lawyers from Hampden County who formerly ran for this role as well, endorsed the other day. And I'm wondering if some judicial appointments were promised, which is not something you can actually, regardless. Right. Politics. There's some ugly politics at play.
If they're coming out publicly for someone, they're probably, I'm going to say in that camp, they probably are promised something. I mean, and this is based on my own experience. Things are not done just decently and in order unless it benefits them. And so I want to thank Justin Hurst for calling out the same things that I was being attacked for. I know this ain't about me, but I'm just talking about the character of this person. In City of Springfield, we better watch out. And we need to vote for Tara Jacobs, because she acts with integrity. and honesty and decency, and she does her research and make it. And being a lawyer does not automatically qualify you for anything except you pass the bar. Okay? Because there are good and bad lawyers, and we've seen them, right? And we all got common sense. So I just want to thank you for that. We need to get these yard signs out. So if anybody wants a yard sign for Tara, there is a link. Tara, Daria Lena. I'm sorry, I might be messing your name all the way up. She says you got her vote, but she did have a question in
It's
here.
on the screen. She says,
Oh,
will you support the pardons campaign that AARW has launched regarding those who are eligible under deportation orders in the Commonwealth?
So first off, there's a few active cases who have gotten a positive recommendation from the Advisory Board of Pardons who have urgent potential deportation timelines that I and actually several other members of council have been pushing the governor's legal office and the governor to bring to council so we can confirm it. We have already in the past confirmed people who deportation was lingering over their heads and it was an urgent matter. There's one case, in fact, we pardoned him twice because the first time he had a team of lawyers and even they didn't realize the pardon we granted the first time had a conditional no gun license, no license to carry condition on it. And it turns out because immigration is federal and not Massachusetts state level, that that disqualified, that pardon didn't count. It has to be a full pardon or the immigration department does not consider it a pardon. So we literally pardoned him a second time with no conditions to make sure that he wasn't deported. So all that to say, I am very much in support of making sure that pardons are granted to people whose lives, in that case, like hang in the balance, for sure.
Can you tell us what AARW is for people that's not following this campaign? Because
that I don't
know. The person who asked the question, Daria, can you explain what that AARW is? Because I don't know what that is. If you're still here, we got some people that want your sign, so we're gonna need that link dropped on my Facebook page. We got to get the word out. We got to share the word. Daryl has something to say.
You can get my signs at the Jeremy Whalen headquarters on Main Street in Springfield, and I will drop more.
At whose headquarters?
Jeremy Whalen. He's running for Congress. I don't know if you've heard of
him. Our Jerome.
I will also say I publicly endorsed him, and then a couple of days later, the hit pieces started coming my way, and I don't know if it's connected in any way. I can't imagine.
Golly, no. They would never.
It's probably unrelated. It's a coincidence.
Someone had the question. They said, does the governor's council play a role in the district attorney's office?
No.
Okay, so they got their answer.
And we also don't play a role in staffing in the clerk's offices because it was a Berkshire County clerk of courts who gave me a negative comment that I did not help her get her staffing levels. I have no budget oversight and I have no ability to affect change other than through advocacy, which I actually had done on her behalf after talking to her about a year ago. But I have no power to do anything there. The trial courts administratively is who she needs to go advocate for herself if she needs more staff. I don't have any control there at all.
The legendary Tony Bass says, great conversation and knowledge sharing. We need more Tara Jacobs who are authentic in their commitment to serve on behalf of all people. He said, great job.
The AARW stands for Asian American Resource Workshop. So thank you, Daria, for clarifying that. And
Daria may be talking about a specific case that I am aware of, and I have already had a conversation with Governor's Legal. Again, it can be frustrating to be a governor's counselor because we don't initiate our own work. We can beg and plead and advocate and influence and do all the things, but ultimately the governor will do what the governor will do.
I'm loving these questions today, Tracy. Has the Governor's Council done a study to identify and remedy any lifetime or extraordinarily long sentences to anyone under 21 that's incarcerated?
So has the Governor's Council done a study?
The Governor's Council has never done a study. Again, so there's 8 of us and we don't have staff. So we kind of receive the work from the governor, and we each do that work in our own way. But we don't operate like we're not. We're a collaborative body, but we're not. We don't operate that way, I guess. What I will say is that the trial courts has done studies in connection with the Kennedy. I think it's the Kennedy Social Justice Law Center at Harvard. That study I talked about with the racial disparities is only one of a number of pieces of research. So there are people looking at things like this. I wish we had the kind of staff to actually, mount the kind of research and write white papers out into the world. I would love to be able to do that.
We have a mayor and a state rep who are advocating for longer sentences and less bail. So I think those are critical issues for people.
Bail is an issue I talk about all the time with especially district court and superior court nominees. Because bail, even a $50 bail in some of our communities, can disrupt someone's housing and employment and fracture their families. And if all they need is $50 for us to feel safe, why do we need any bail at all?
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah.
No argument there. So, Tracy, any questions?
No, a couple more comments. I just want to say, Tara, you did a fantastic job.
I love that people are actually watching this.
They are watching. Kelly said your opponent doesn't have any people of color involved in his campaign. I don't know if that's true or not, but do you, Tara? Do you have people of color?
So my campaign is a very grassroots, people-driven campaign of people across my entire district, across my 102 cities and towns. Organizationally, my campaign is me and my husband and my car, but hundreds of people all across my district who are writing letters to the editor, helping me get lawn signs out. I drop off 10 here and 15 there, and they help disperse it. People who are posting, people who are doing all of the things to help my awareness build and get my votes out. And they represent every kind of Western Mass person that there is. So yes, I have support from a diverse age-wise, gender-wise, race-wise, and partially too because, listen, this is a political campaign, and I'm out here campaigning, and I'm doing forums and things like that. But genuinely, I consider myself campaigning through my work. And so when I'm out there and I go to Springfield No One Leaves, or if I go to Neighbor, or if I sit down with a sexual assault task force that is multi-town regionalized, that's me doing my work and listening and learning so that I can funnel that directly into my work as a member of council and deliberating on nominees. But also it's a two-way communication of I want to understand the struggles. I want to do what I can to advocate on behalf of those who do struggle. And so I will show up and testify on behalf of bills that people will, share with me why they're so important and come out of the pain that they've experienced in their life. But that to me, it's not campaigning, but it's campaign. I had a campaign message originally of what I wanted to do, and then I live that in action every day, and that is how I show up. And for me, that's how I campaign.
And I think that's an excellent. I mean, I love the point that they raised about Mike Fenton, because a lot of times, keeping it 100, we have a lot of politicians who are not Black, who come into Black spaces, Black forums, Black churches, and people talk their talk. And then when we see their staff or we see their team, it's completely not reflective of our audience. You know what I mean? So, but did you say that your staff is you, your husband, and your car?
That's what she said. That's what she said.
Just that one.
Yeah. Jack, you got to give that car credit, man. It's less than it's about 3 years old with over 100,000 miles from driving all over this district and back and forth to Boston. So I've been going through tires and I've been going through brakes and it's still hobbling along there. But yeah, that car is a team player. That car is a big team player.
You got to definitely come on my page because Robert said, are you looking for volunteers as a person of color? And it'll be more than you and your husband and your car and your dogs and your cats.
When people offer to volunteer, I give them stuff to do, but it's they're not I wish I was more
even
organized.
like putting out yard signs.
Yard
you know,
signs,
you got to think
I mean,
about September 1st. You need people,
yes.
you know, on the field at the polling locations, like
taking
all
those
that.
yard signs to the polls.
Taking
Yes.
those yard signs to the
Yes.
polling location. So we got to
Yes.
think about the whole strategy here, Tara. And I love your jacket, by the way.
Oh.
And Nate Woodard,
Well,
said
you
you're
love the
such
love, right?
I love the love. I love it.
Yeah.
And we're gonna probably head out in 3 more minutes, but I just wanted to give you a couple more comments and then I'll pass it to Daryl. I'll be done. Nate Woodard said you're such a wonderful person. You have his full support. Danielle says she was introduced to you by a person of color. I don't know what this all means, but it's still great. Donnie Wright said Tara's information session assisted me in getting on the road to getting my gun rights back. Thank you for that, Tara. Yeah. Oh, a pardon. Okay. And Donnie Wright also said you impressed him since you met at Western New England University. Thank you for all that you do, and he supports you. And so much love and support on this page for you. And I hope, okay, so for the audience, since y'all are so engaged and loving her so much, you gotta call a minimum of 10 people that you know vote, a minimum of 10 people that you know vote, and have them vote for Tara Jacobs and tell them why and tell them to watch this show. So
join my social media, Instagram, Facebook, go on my website, tarajacobs.com. You know, email me and what I ask is exactly what you just said. It's like you tell 2 people and they tell 2 people and they tell 2 people. I like 10 better, but I'm an old person and there was a commercial that had like shampoo that's the Pearl commercial. You tell 2 people and then suddenly 1 million people know. But yes, word of mouth, tell people, because literally almost nobody you know has ever heard of Governor's Council. They don't know who I am or who my opponent is, and they will skip it at the ballot if you don't tell them. And by the way, the ballot doesn't say Governor's Council, just to add an extra level of like secrecy and obscurity to Governor's Council. It says counselor. So vote counselor. Under my name, it says Governor's Council because I'm the incumbent. So it's re-elect or renominate Tara Jacobs to Governor's Council. But counselor. That's what people I've never seen on the ballot.
Because he is a counselor. That's not right. She said governor's
constitutional language, but also this is council has operated in secrecy for a long time. When we talk about transparency, up until COVID, there were no cameras in that room, and you had to go to Boston and go to the Governor's Council chamber if you had any interest in what they were up to. And there's a reason no one knows about it. And honestly, again, going back to our systems were embedded in racial structures and patriarchy. And there's a reason no one knows what it is. That's why from the beginning, I was like, this is the perfect show because you're talking about the things that I talk about and care about that deserve to have light shown on them.
Tara, folks in my community, we completely know why it's been a secret. Why certain information is left out. Completely no. There's no secret here. We've been saying it for 100 years.
My opponent was my predecessor's heir apparent. Her choice to succeed him. He was supposed to win that primary. He gave a victory speech the night of the election in 2022. The people have spoken. Meanwhile, the results didn't all come into the next day.
I remember that.
Right? And then boom, I won. But he was supposed to be in the seat, according to her back then, and they've been gunning to get it back into the power of this office back again since.
Fred Hampton
Come on, people. We can't let that happen.
All power lies in the hands of the people. So
we cannot let that happen.
The time we've been on for an hour and 18 minutes. We're 18 minutes over. We typically keep it down to an hour, but this has been really good. I think I don't know who Robert.
We're always over, Daryl.
I don't know who Robert Good is, but I think he's trying to take my job.
Who's that, Robert?
I think he's trying to take my job. I'm just saying.
He's taking one of us out.
So
we got to have him on.
Tara, it's been amazing. When you beat the challenger the last time, you don't understand. I had no idea who you were, but you don't understand how happy I was.
Oh, thank you.
Politically, when there are any cultural issues on the political table, he and I are always on the other end of those arguments, publicly and privately. So I'm just saying, for anybody who is watching this, please remember who he is. Please remember who he is, what he's done, what he's been against. remember who he is when you go to vote, and remember why you need to vote for Tara. If this is your first time voting for her, you can't speak for the first term, but this term here, it's like history begins today. Vote for her, and then let's come back, and then we'll assess, what she's done, whether or not it's been beneficial to the community or not. Everybody is open to being held accountable once we give them that vote. It's like hiring an attorney. If your attorney is not doing due diligence, then you find a new attorney. But so far, first term in, phenomenal job. Please keep it up. We love it. And I have a question. And now that you are asking voters for a second term,
Third term.
Third term. Okay. Third term. I'm getting old, so I have an excuse.
Nope.
I hit that 61, so I don't want to hear nothing. I use it like a credit card. You're now asking voters for that third term. What is the strongest argument you can make to someone who says, Tara, you've had 2 terms. Tell me specifically what you accomplished. You've already talked about that. But talk about what you still haven't accomplished and why we should give you another 4 years.
2 years.
The kind of 2 years, the 2-year terms.
Well, we're hoping on 2 more terms.
Tracy's
Okay?
got it.
2 more terms, okay?
All right.
2 more years. So in my 4 years, the Healy administration, I've only served under this one governor, but over 100 judges have been confirmed, and that represents 25% of our judiciary. And I can already see, but also I get reflected back to me from the legal community and also community members, the sea change that is happening in terms of representation, but also the experience of justice. But it's not done. It's one of those jobs I think will never be done, just how humans are, right? We're always going to have to be on it and doing the work to work towards progress. And there's always a counter trend trying to pull us back, especially in this era of Trump. And so I think this work is as important as ever, and there's still a lot to do. But the other part of it is how much, I spend time in community serving in that way. And so this conversation, I think, has just been one of a number of things I'd love to see. I'd love to come back. I'd love to have really, like, the fact that this has been so give and take with people who are watching, with their comments and their questions. That's fantastic. I would love to do that regularly with you guys to discuss justice and how people are impacted, and learn on my end. I'm always a lifelong learner in there, visiting courts and learning what I can do, visiting prisons and learning what the experiences are and bringing it back. But
you visit prisons?
Yeah.
I wonder, does your opponent do that? Is he going? Maybe if there's
I know the answer is no, but he can't. So as a member of Governor's Council, I am empowered to visit any prison or jail whenever I want. And so I do. I visit the jails, the houses of corrections. I visit the prisons, and I return again and again. I've been in Norfolk about a dozen times at this point, and MCI Shirley about a dozen times at this point, Gardner and Framingham, the women's prison, and a bunch of medium securities as well. And I haven't visited every single prison yet, but I almost all of them. But I go and I talk to the incarcerated people, and I talk to them because I want to show them someone cares, like literally just starting from that point, right? Somebody actually gives a crap about them and their existence, and that is a service in and of itself. But genuinely, I want to hear from them about their parole board experience and their judicially involved experience, and then I come back and I educate them on the commutation process and things like that, or just the work of counsel in general. All of that to say, there are, 8 million people in Massachusetts and 850,000 of them in Western Mass, and every single person has their own lived experience. And I'm interested in them all, and they all are relevant to the work that I'm doing. And so the more we do things like this, I just love it. Again, I'm talking too much, Tracy, but I'm like, I know
once you're passionate about it, it just keeps coming out. But Israel Rivera, City Council alert in Holyoke, said he endorsed you the first time. He endorsed you again. He did time at Shirley, so we can all change, right? We can all change our paths. Our past does not define us. So
I would love to see Izzy, specifically Izzy, or someone with lived incarcerated experience on the parole board. We've never in the history of Massachusetts had someone with lived incarcerated experience on the parole board. And I think when we talk about diversity of experience, that's what I'm talking about. Like we we should have someone on the pro board who has lived experience and has experience having transformed and re-entered in a way that is transformational and impacts community in a positive way and understands both sides of the wall.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I have pushed for that. I had a couple of applications from Western Mass for this most recent parole board opening with lived incarcerated experience, both of whom I think would be fantastic and would have served so well and did really well in the interview process. But I also had Western Mass clinicians, healthcare, social work, forensic psychology, on and on, because we also really need someone from Western Mass on the pro board, and there aren't any right now, and that matters too. So in terms of what do I want to accomplish, I honestly, I could, the more we talk, the more I'll be like, oh yeah, and that too. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That too.
Yeah.
There's so many things because it's such a huge moving machine. It's so complicated and there's so many nuances to it, and all of it needs a breath of fresh air. It needs attention. It needs scrutiny and intentional change if we're going to make a difference and have different outcomes.
Yeah. Thank you. But I like that other comment you had up there that said that person went against the city council president. He sure did, and he is not. He's gonna regret that. But let's see. Danielle asked, when will you be in Springfield again?
Let's see. Probably tomorrow. Definitely on Thursday. I've been in Springfield almost every day. A lot of times just dropping signs real quick in people's lawns because I have
So
signs.
you're not part of the debate on Wednesday?
Oh, definitely Wednesday. Oh my God. Yes.
Yeah, so there's a debate on Wednesday.
I should have opened my calendar.
Yeah. At Mount Zion Church, there's a debate.
I will be there.
Yeah. Yes. I hope so, Tara. Yeah,
but I'm going to be there
yard signs that day
too.
so we can give them to the people, right?
Yep.
And so Danielle, what time do you have the time on that? I think 6 o'clock.
I think 6 o'clock or 5:30 maybe.
At Mount Zion Church, there is a debate, and Tara and that guy will be there.
I think some other offices too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. The
11th
Hamden. The 11th Hamden.
Is the congressional going to be?
Yeah. Yes, the congressional will be. I don't know who confirmed. I know who didn't. But who's not going to be there? But I'm pretty sure Jeremy Whalen will be there. Not Nydia. I think she'll be there as well.
Oh.
Yeah, I think she'll be there as well. But Richie, no, I think he declined that debate. And you'll be there. Bud will not be there. He said he has something else to do that day at work. So it'll be the other opponents there. But I think that'll be a good place for you all to come out and see Tara in person, pick up your yard signs, Mount Zion Church, 6 o'clock Wednesday. And that's it. We just are very grateful that you joined us today.
No, me. I am the grateful one. This has been amazing. And the interactive words of support. There's one right there on the screen. The questions that came in. Oh my gosh, you guys. I wore the love jacket and I feel the love. And that's amazing. And thank you for that. And I'm very serious. As often as you want to have me come back and talk as I do about the things, there's so much to talk about. And literally every single court, there's something interesting that I can share about what the trends show in the research and what people's experiences are and what we're looking for, and encourage people to help us get good judges, people who will be good judges to apply. But right now, September 1st, Democratic primary.
September 1st, guys.
Ballots are out there already. Early voting starts on August 22nd. And on this primary will decide who your next governor's counselor is, whether I continue to serve you in this role or another person does. And I really hope to have your vote, your support, and help get the word out to all the majority of this district who still don't know what governor's council is and will skip it at the ballot if you don't tell them they need to vote on it.
Do you have any Republican opponents?
No. This literally will decide it.
Will decide it, yeah.
Yep.
Last time you have 4.
The first primary, there were 4 of us, and then a Republican.
Okay.
And then last term I was unopposed.
I meant the time before. I'm thinking 2022. And they had about the same amount of votes together that Mike won by. So we got to make sure we turn those numbers around in the city of Springfield, because Mike got the most votes in the city of Springfield. So we got to cut those votes half that he secured, and make sure we are telling people exactly who to vote for, someone who got our best interest. When think about judges, that's all I'm gonna say. You want someone who's gonna vote for a judge that is going to benefit our community, because that has not historically been the case, right? So
100%.
think about it, guys. That's all I got, Daryl.
All right.
I know this was my show tonight.
Told you I don't mind playing the background. As long as the information gets out, that's what matters. That is all that matters at the end of the night. Tara, thank you so much for coming on with us. I'm glad you said you'd be more than willing to come back, because we would definitely, that was going to be my very last question. Can we bring you back for updates? So with that being said, thank you so much. Any last words? Not last words, any words?
I just want to give my gratitude for you for having me on, for caring about this role that most people don't even know about or care about, and for caring about, your very premise for having this podcast really lands in my heart. We need people to be willing to have serious conversations, uncomfortable conversations, if we're ever going to make a change happen. And so I thank you for what you are doing, and I thank you for having me on. It's been such a pleasure and so much fun, and I'll do it anytime you invite me. I'll make it happen. I'd love to come back.
Perfect.
More than willing to happen. Tracy, anything?
Just good night. Sis is tired.
All right, everybody. With that being said, thank you to all the viewers, everybody who chimed in, everyone who participated and volunteered information, asked great questions. We really appreciate you. And until next time, we out. Civil Disruption, y'all.
See you later. Have a good night.
Good night. Thank you, guys.